Let me ask you a serious question. Did you wake up today to be mediocre? You didn't, did you? I seriously doubt that you did. You want to be the best and you want to succeed with photography. That is why you're here. I have already put some doubt, I hope I put some doubt into you about the effectiveness of social media and whether it is right for you. Now, take to heart what I'm about to tell you. You are clearly in charge of your photographic journey. Your success depends on you, and I talked about this earlier in the course. You're the one who has to make things happen. You have to wake up every day and go to work and work so hard to make everything become reality. And you can do this. You and you alone are responsible for creating your own opportunities. When you have your own photography business, you're the one who must make things happen. You must create business opportunities, you have to make connections, and very importantly, you have to build relationships. And this is what is most important, building relationships. So you say, okay, Mark, what do you mean relationships? Well, you want to build relationships with clients so you are the first person they think of when there's a job or a need for photographs. Let's say your client has a project, or they have a magazine spread, or an ad campaign, or they need a cover for a book. You want to be the first person that your client thinks of. Opportunities just don't magically appear on your doorstep. And there's this great story of a photographer who puts out this story that National Geographic just out of the blue contacted him to put him on the cover, and I seriously question whether or not that happened, but be that as it may, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to work every single day for it. So how do you create opportunities, and how do you build relationships? And by the way, these relationships are going to open the doors to your success. I guarantee it. So who do you want to build a relationship with? When you're just beginning, you want to focus on lead generation. Okay, there's a big word, lead generation. What does it mean? Marketing with a call to action so that you can quickly bring in new business. And this simply means sending out an introduction. Maybe you're sending out your portfolio, postcards, etc. to potential clients. But who are you sending them to? And where do you find them? Well, let's get into that. These are the people, if you are a freelance photographer and you're wanting to work on a national or international stage, you want to focus on art buyers. You want to focus on art directors, photo editors, and designers. And these people are could be in advertising agencies. They could also be in magazines. Think about design studios, graphic design studios, magazines. There are so many magazines, whether they are in print or a lot of magazines are solely online. Book publishers, book producers, client direct. And client direct means that you are contacting a specific client directly. Let's say it is the tourist bureau of your city, or a food magazine, fashion magazine. You also want newspaper publishers and maybe even copywriters. So you say, okay, well, that sounds great, Mark, but where and how do I find these people? And that's a good question. Before you can even begin to market yourself, my suggestion would be to ask yourself the following questions. And you need to know these things. Who am I as a photographer? We've talked about this already, about style and your main interest of photography. And there's a reason I've been pressing this upon you, and here we are. What makes you different? Who is your target market? Who do you want to market to? Who are the clients that you want to work with? What magazines, what tourist bureau, what ad agency, what organization? You have to really sit and think, okay, I have all these great photos of a particular and specific genre. Who could I sell? Who could use my photos? Who could I sell them to? What kind of message do you want to tell them, and what do they want to hear? You don't want to send a food magazine photographs of fashion. I mean, you just don't want to do that. So you want to make sure that your message is tailored to a particular client. And then ask yourself, what is the best way to communicate with them? Is it through email? Is it through a direct mail, through the old-fashioned mail system, which I absolutely agree with? So take some time and write the answers to these questions in your notebook. If you can do this, if you can make all of this clear, then the rest of what we're going to do is going to be so easy. So this is where so many photographers get it wrong. They start off trying to market themselves really without understanding the foundations that I've just laid out of who they are, what makes you different, who are you going to market to, what kind of message does your potential client want to hear, and what is the best way to communicate with them. This is where photographers go wrong. They just start throwing things out without putting much thought into it. If you approach your marketing with a lot of intention, I promise you that the doors will open for you. And the journey of building relationships in the photography industry begins. And the other thing that I will add in is you must be consistent. Just like a blog where I've told you you need to have an update, whether it's daily, every other day, weekly, etc. You need to be consistent with approaching your clients and or potential clients. They're very busy people, and it's easy to forget. So do keep that in mind. Put yourself on their side, and this desk piled full of not only what they have to do with their job, creating articles or campaigns, but then they have this pile of photographers that want to work with them, and who knows what else is on their desk. They're busy people. So be consistent. Think about your photography and your style. Now, we have gone over this over and over and over again, so I hope you know what your style is. Start making a list of the places where you can envision your photographs, and call this list your dream client list. Your dream client list is going to be your target market. let's say you're a landscape photographer. Where could your landscape photos appear? There's Outdoor Magazine. Maybe there are billboards and ad campaigns. Maybe there are organizations, non-profit or even for-profit organizations that use landscape photographs in their campaigns. If you have something like Apple TV or even Amazon's Fire, I forget what it's called, when it goes into sleep mode, it starts going through the slideshow of all these photos. Well, they have to get those photos from somewhere, right? And that may be one of your target markets, just an example. So take some time and come up with your dream client list. Who are the clients? Who are the potential clients that you most want to work with? So once you have this list, where do you find them? How do you get the contact information? Well, there are a couple of ways, and some cost money and some are free. One is to subscribe to a directory, and I've put up, I'm sure that there's more than the two that I'm including here. One is called Yodelist, and this is a place where you can subscribe. It's a monthly fee. I think maybe it's about $90 a month. And for that $90, you get access to up-to-date contact information for all the people that I mentioned earlier. Art buyers, art directors, photo editors, editors, ad agencies, magazines, book publishers, newspaper publishers, etc. All the names will be there. The actual people who work in the office, who do those jobs, their names will be on this list that you can subscribe to. Not only will their names appear, but so will their phone number and their email and their physical address as well. So everything you need to be able to contact a person directly is right there for a price. Just know that it does cost money. Another directory is called Bikini Lists. I think that's a very peculiar name, but this particular list, Bikini List, will do the very same things that the previous one did, Yodelist. You can get the names of the clients, their phone number, email, physical address, etc. You can also, for very cost-effective but time-consuming, you can go online, think of magazine names. I've picked Travel and Leisure, so I went to Travel and Leisure's website and digging around. It took a lot of digging around. I was able to come up with this page that lists the editor-in-chief, the executive editor, creative person, the photo editor, etc. The list goes on and it gives their name. Now, you will then need to search a little bit further to be able to find the address. You'll find the address for Travel and Leisure, but you're not going to find their email or their phone number, direct phone number. And here we have also American Way. American Way is the magazine that is in the pocket of every seat at American Airlines. If you fly American Airlines, almost every airline has this. So as you look through this magazine the next time you're flying, have a look and you'll see that they obviously use photographs and stories. So if you're a writer, perhaps you could submit both. But again, all the names of the people who are in a position that you want to be able to contact. They're listed right there. And I found this online. Again, I just went American Way, and it took a little digging, and I found the names that I was looking for. Now, you could go even further, and LinkedIn, of course, that is a social media site, isn't it? For professionals, they say. You can find, here we have Kathleen, and Kathleen's going to be very upset with me if everyone in this course contacts her. But anyway, Kathleen is the photo editor at Food Network magazine. And you'll have to go find the address, which would be easy to do. I mean, the truth is, in today's world, it is very difficult to hide. Google has made finding people so easy, and that's both a good thing and a scary thing, really, all in one. But you can go into LinkedIn if you have a LinkedIn account, and you can start finding names as well. So let's say you searched a magazine like Travel and Leisure, and here's Nathan Lump, who is the editor-in-chief. And then you go into somewhere like LinkedIn, and you can probably get even more information. One other approach would be this book, which is called Photographer's Market. And every year this publication comes out. So, of course, this is up to date as of the publication date of this book. And in this book, you are going to find all the people that we have talked about. You're going to find magazines, you're going to find companies that produce calendars or note cards. You'll find advertising agencies, tourist bureaus, etc., 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 food magazines. This is an American publication, and they also have a website called artistmarketonline.com. And when you purchase this book, I believe that you get a free subscription to artistmarketonline.com. I think that I've purchased this book and I've used it before. It's very effective. But their website is rather confusing, so I can't say much about that, except to say what I just said, and it's confusing. Out of Britain is this other publication. It's a book called The Freelance Photographer's Market Handbook. And in this book, you will also find all of the magazines, ad agencies, design studios, etc. All those will be listed all in one concise place. Now, what I would suggest as you do this is to make the process of collecting the names of your dream clients, make it as easy as possible. If compiling these names, if you decide to search via Google, let's say, or any search engine, it can be very time consuming, and you might not find all of the information that you're looking for. Where something like this book or subscribing to the directory of names is going to be a faster and more efficient use of your time. But you need to work within your budget as well. Now, in an earlier lesson, we talked about starting little and starting local. And I suggested that you make a list of local businesses that could use your photography services. And if you haven't made your local list, just start now. And let me give you an example of what I've done. Here we have Guest Life, El Paso in southern New Mexico. Now, I have been working with Guest Life for the past 12 years. And each and every year I receive an email or I receive a phone call. This publication comes out yearly. And the lady there that is the editor, I have built up this relationship with her, and I'm one of the first people that she contacts. And each and every year they purchase anywhere from 5 to 12 of my images, and they pay really well. And so every year I can count on this as part of my income. This particular cover is the one for the year 2017, and they used an image that I submitted on the cover, as well as other images inside the publication. And all of this was built on just building a relationship with the editor. And this is what I mean. You want to get to know. You don't have to be best friends with someone, but you have to build a professional relationship. So when it's time for a project, you're one of the first people that they contact. So you now have your dream client list. So what do you do with it? This is when and where you need to start thinking creatively. And I'll share some ideas with you, but these are not the only ideas and answers. These are just the obvious ones. I told you to make an introduction and a reminder that you will send out consistently. Now, a few years back, I worked with an agency out of New York, and they're supposed to be very reputable. And I contracted with them to promote me, which actually turned into a disaster. And I don't really recommend hiring a company like that. And I'll tell you that $30,000 later, they got me nowhere. And I can't tell you how infuriating that is. And so make sure that you do this yourself. You can do this. So we'll start with postcards, and this is something that they made, and that's what triggered the story, and they actually didn't do a great job. But this is what it is, and this is the example that I had readily available. So you want to put a photograph of yours on the postcard, and you want to include your website address and your email address, so there is a way for them to go see more of your work if they're interested in the postcard and the image that you've used. And you want an email address so they can contact you. And you also want to say, who are you? Who is this person sending this to me? And here is another example with the website address, phone number, and again, who you are. You can also online create a PDF portfolio. And this is a great thing to do. You can basically create a PDF which includes your photographs. Very easy to do, whether you have a PowerPoint or Keynote if you use Apple. And the PDF portfolio is a collection of your images that best represent your work as a photographer. And the cool thing is the PDF can be sent to potential clients via email. You could also, via YouTube, or Vimeo, you could create a video portfolio, which would be a collection of your images that best represent your work as a photographer. And the video can also tell your story. Remember, we've talked about the importance of video, not only today, but in the future. So you might want to think about that. And it's easy to include a link in an email and even embed video into email today. The video, as I said, it can be created for YouTube or Vimeo and then also embedded into your website. And you can get really creative with these. And I cannot stress upon you how important this is. Being creative and just packing a punch so someone has to look further and become interested in your work. Then, of course, this is sort of an expensive way, but you can create a printed portfolio, which again is a collection of images that best represent your work as a photographer. The printed portfolio can be sent to potential clients via regular mail. Now, I did find an inexpensive way to print this, and if you go to Blurb, many people are familiar with Blurb. They now offer magazines, and you could create a magazine that is 5 pages, 10 pages, 100 pages, however big you want to make it. And of course, the more pages, the more it costs, but you could produce a magazine which could also be your portfolio for a starting cost of $2.50 per magazine, which really is not that expensive unless you're printing thousands, and you don't want to approach thousands of clients, I promise. What you want to do basically is you want to introduce yourself. You want to tell your story, but do it briefly, just like on your webpage, less than 250 words. You want to show your best work. We've talked about the best of your best. This is where you're going to include it. And you want to be sure to include your contact details. And that means your name, your email, your web address, and if you want, your phone number. So my best suggestion to you after you have done all of that, and I have mentioned this already, is consistently self-promote you as a photographer and your photography. The more you send your self-promotion pieces out, the more likely you're going to build relationships, and the more likely you're going to get work, and the more likely you will succeed. Now, when I say consistently, I don't mean send something out every day. I don't mean every week, but every 3 to 4 weeks, you want to send something so your name is constantly in someone's face and lands on someone's desk. So thank you for joining me in this lesson. I hope I cleared up and pressed upon you the idea that one-on-one contact and building personal relationships outside of the internet really is the best way for you to succeed as a photographer. It is not the easiest way, and you have to do it over, and you have to be consistent, and you need to be creative. If you have any questions, if you have any ideas, please post them in the comment section, and we will continue the discussion there. Thank you.